All right, guys. Today is a video that is going to be our updated version of DaVinci Resolve in Docker. Like I kind of mentioned in like my LXC container video, is I thought it would be good for me to still keep up on the Docker side of it in case some people still prefer to use Docker. For whatever case you have. Like I said, the only issue you're just going to have is just keeping your software up to date if you ever leave that container down for an extended period of time. So let's go ahead and get started. Excuse me, I'm still dying of illness here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of take it from the top and then talk about some of the new stuff compared to the old video that has changed. Okay. So, we're still going to use our desktop. So, shout out to the Linux server people that have made this. And we are going to be still using Ubuntu XFCE. So can I click on that and it'll go through? Okay. Now, of course, it's going to be a little different on my screen because I'm about to actually switch over to my stuff. But setup stuff is still going to be the exact same, just minus the repository, because the image I did create is based off of this. So let's talk about it. Okay. So, first and foremost, you can go ahead and give it whatever name, you want to give it. Where we at. And then, of course, like I said, the repository, don't change the repository. Like I said, we used this, and when I rebuilt it, that was my base image, because I'm just working on some stuff to make this a lot easier, so you don't have to go through a lot of this setup stuff. You could just pull this container image and then it'll work. Don't try to pull this. This is a private repository, so it's not going to work for you if you tried to pull this. I do have a regular Resolve one that is the one that I'm working on, but it's not ready yet. So if you pull it, it might not even work anyway. But so just keep that in mind, right? So just don't worry about the repository. Extra parameters, I do strongly recommend you do set the host name for the container, right? Because it's super helpful. Like when you have a bunch of these DaVinci Resolve instances or applications, because we do this primarily for the network rendering. When you got a lot of these running on the network to actually know what machine is actually doing what. So this is how you specify that, so that way you can actually identify them in your regular Resolve application as to what's doing what. GPUs all gives the container access to all of the physical GPUs, right? And then the security thing unconfined, this was needed because as I recall correctly, default Docker doesn't allow all system commands, I think, to just be accessible at the time, and I'm not too familiar with how to change that manually. So when you set this to unconfined, it'll have access to all system call stuff, which is important for the GPU. This is important for the GPU functionality to actually work as intended, just FYI. Now, it's been a long time since I've tried testing without this, so maybe you might want to try and test this without this flag to see if it works. And if it works, then cool. Definitely mention that in the comment section, because then I'll definitely update my stuff. But otherwise, if for whatever reason it doesn't, you run into an error that you don't see from this video going forward, then it's going to be because you do need this. But like I said, this will only come up when you try to use your GPU, or the GPU tries to do something specific. Let's see, right? Okay, yeah. So remote desktop port, right? So the RDP port, obviously you're going to want to set that to whatever it is. If you got multiple applications on your server using, RDP, then obviously you're going to need to kind of adjust that, as needed. I only use this Docker container specifically for DaVinci Resolve, like I said in the other one, right? So, there's no need for any of this. Now this is where the config folder is going to be at, right? That's where I set it at for persistence, so that way every time that the container goes down and up, it doesn't some stuff that I have on a desktop doesn't just disappear or whatever. But this does not keep the applications and stuff that you install from going away if the container goes away. All right. So that's why, with Docker, it's a little bit problematic. It is honestly a little bit problematic. Like I said, when you leave the container down for so long, or the container goes away and you try to rebuild it, right? Because like I said, that activation goes away for Studio. and and then you have to sit there and go through reactivation. Okay. Right. So this was like, I think this is default in the original thing, so I just kept it. Now folders. Okay, so now this is where I mounted my folder where I wanted my my DaVinci Resolve stuff to be produced to. This is particularly important because when you do network rendering jobs, all the directories, right? Source directories have to all match across all the machines, and they all have to have access to the same file, which is fairly easy. That's really easy. You can just make sure that they all have access to the same like remote network, and then there's a thing in DaVinci that lets you like set the paths and stuff, which is really very easy, not that difficult. But the destination is a little bit tricky. So again, easy to also set the destination. However, just be forewarned that with Docker, okay, I was not able to get SMB to work like as far as the protocol itself within the container. So even, and what I mean by that is like these are SMB shares, right? So this location, so this location is an SMB share. If I set that as a destination to write to, sometimes the Docker container goes crazy and it just crashes or just like disappears on me or whatever, right? So you could use it as a source. Using it as a source is fine. It's writing to that becomes a problem, because like as far as I guess the Ubuntu container sees it, it thinks it's a regular file when really it's actually an SMB remote share, and then like so you're dependent on how Unraid handles that for you, and it's just really messy. So your best bet is to actually just use a local location on the server as the destination for DaVinci Resolve, right? And then you do the DaVinci Resolve magic to make that directory look the same across all the other DaVinci Resolve instances. All right, now here's like the big change here. Oh yeah, and then you might see, if you compare it to my previous one, you see we removed some stuff here. That's because like we kind of moved them down here, and that's primarily this one, right? So these two here, these are the two variables like we need for the DaVinci Resolve to actually work for the rendering. The actual rendering, I don't mean like project rendering. Project rendering actually works regardless. What it is that the timeline, the actual timeline display. So like when you want to actually look and see at the stuff that is in your timeline, the edits and all that stuff, that's blank without these two variables here, setting the prime render offload and then the library, the video, right? Now this is what has changed or been updated. We had I don't even remember the variable we had in here, but we was actually able to get rid of that and use this, which is another variable that determines like what NVIDIA capabilities are actually accessible to the container. And we want everything. We want everything NVIDIA related, available, and accessible in this container, right? So we added this variable and we create and set the flag to all, which obviously, because if you're using this, it doesn't have any of that. So, just as a quick run through, right, you just click here. So you add, and, for the path, this is how you do the path, whatever you want to call this path is for, right? Container path is the path in the container. So actually it'd be better if I actually just show here, right? Yeah. So, right. So the container path is the path inside the container. So inside Ubuntu, and then the host path is going to be on the Unraid server. Right. I probably should have walked through that when I was just going through it. Okay. But you should already know what you're doing if you're at this part. I hope, right? If not, it's fine too, right? We've all been there. So that's that. And then as for the variables, right? You set the class variable. And then like I said, for the variables, you just, whatever you want to call the variable as far as the Unraid's concerned, right? But then this is the actual name of the variable, right? And then its value. So key, which is the name of the variable, value. Okay, not to be confused with name as what this configuration thing is calling this. Okay, just FYI. And then that's that. Like I said again, I'm still gonna walk through the stuff because even though I'm installing this right now, I have the regular DaVinci inside of this image for right now. So I need to get the so I still have to actually put Resolve Studio on there, which is what I'm gonna do in a second. So we're gonna go ahead and hit apply. You know, just go ahead and you'll just wait for that to, you know, pull your images and stuff, and then do its thing. And then once it's up and running, then we will go ahead and we'll pull up Microsoft's remote desktop, sign in, and go for it. All right, so I said that one finished. Like I said, mine is going to be a little, you know, a little bit different from you guys's, but you know, all cool, right? All right, cool. So that is, you know, now up and running here. So all right, so we're going to use remote desktop now to go ahead and make the connection. Like I said, if you had changed that port number, you know, this is where you would specify it in the config, right? We had changed it to 3390. But you know, the standard port is 3389. So like I said, if you don't have something we're using 3389, you wouldn't have changed it. But of course, you know, we were, so that's why I changed it to 3390. So it's just going to be my server, that port that we know is what the, you know, container is running on, 3390. As you can see, it comes up. Cool. I don't know why this comes down here at the bottom. Good gracious, that is small. Now remember, this is on that off of that our desktop box from the Linux server group people. So the default is ABC, and then the password is also. All right, so now let's go ahead, and now that we're in, let's go ahead and get to it. So firstly, all right, I finally figured out too about like the sizing thing, and I'll show you guys where to go to kind of adjust that. So firstly, right, you see this icon size, you can actually, you know, make this bigger. All right, so I'm just gonna set that at 80. You go there, and then what you want to do is you want to go to applications, it's settings, and then panel, right? So you want to go to the panel, and here in the panel, panel 1 is this top panel here, and panel 2 is going to be this bottom one here. So panel 1, you know, I'll make that just a little bit bigger. You know, we can get a little bit, you know, a little something. Okay, and then for the second panel, which is down here, we can certainly expand that out a little bit more. You know, you set it to however it is you want to set it. Cool. And then as for the words, because you know the words are a bit small. Again, parent settings, and I want to say it is appearance. Should be appearance. Yeah. Parent font, right? So here you go, custom DPI 96, right? Obviously that's you know, too small. I don't feel like clicking that many times. So let me just try like 150. Yeah, see, that looks good enough to me. Right now, this only handles like, you know, the UI as far as on his desktop. Individual applications, there is a way to kind of force it to like do individual for it to work on individual applications as well. I just never really mess with it because it's just a little scary to me, because you know you'll be setting an arbitrary like DPI number manually somewhere, and then I guess if you ever want to make changes, you need to just, I guess, update that one location and somehow reload stuff, I guess, right? But anyway, now let's go ahead and get to it, right? This wouldn't be here. This is just unique to my application or my Docker container, because the intent is that you install a Docker container, DaVinci Resolve is already ready to go, right? Besides just needing for regular DaVinci Resolve ready to go, right? But the other one you'll obviously need to activate. So we'll go ahead and we'll start now rewalking through the same steps again on getting DaVinci Resolve installed and ready to go, right? So first thing I'm going to do is, if you recall, right, we had mounted those SMB shares, and that's important because, like I said, whether you mount SMB share or you know, another directory, we need the installation file, right, to get to our desktop. So I'm going to just simply go. Well, hold on. Yeah, let me go here. No, not media. I guess it is right here, right? Oh, yeah, right here. Yeah, this is it. Sorry, I don't know. I'm tripping. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to copy that on over here. Okay. All right, so we see that the file has now been copied, right? Copied to the desktop. So now what I'm gonna do is let's go ahead and navigate there. What is it? LS, right? Cool. All right, so now what I'm going to do is, you're sure you guys are probably familiar with the previous video. So we are going to start off with extracting the contents. So I'm going to do a / DaVinci Resolve file name, basically, right? So there we go, like the studio, blah blah blah, right? And then we are going to do the rest of this that I'm going to grab in just a second, which is going to be the dash extractor thing. I'm just copying, one step at a time here. All right. And does this move along with when I open it up? Oh, it does. Sure. Why not? Right. All right. Right. So, what we're doing is, we're going to take that installation file, right? We're going to extract all its contents, right, into a folder, right? This extracts it into I guess the natural name is squash fs-root is the folder, which, as you can see, we then cd into. Then after we cd into it, then we run the sed command. Now what the sed command does is that it lets you cut stuff out of like a file. It's probably a little bit more powerful than what that explanation just gives, but that's just what we're using it for. We're using it to cut these lines out of the installation file. Okay, so that's what this lib or whatever and libsound2, like these things these things don't work, or they you just got to get rid of them. So we're gonna go ahead and let's do that. So as you see, it is doing its thing. And once that is done, we are actually going to, before we sit there and actually try to run the installation file, we are going to install all the needed packages. We could have done that first before doing this, but I thought since we were here, we might as well just do that part. All right, so as soon as this is done, we'll come back and then we'll install all of needed packages, right? This includes also getting the OpenCL thing working, because OpenCL wouldn't be working. And then after that, then it's going to be an installation, remove some additional files, and then you're golden. All right, it finished extracting that file, and then I accidentally had I copied by mistake the sudo thing into it, so that's why I couldn't find it. But after it would have copied, you'll have the correct thing in the description, so don't worry about it. Then that sed command would have ran, right, and then that's it. So now what we're going to do is we are going to install those packages that we were just talking about earlier, as long as we're getting the OpenCL stuff up and going, right? So what I'm going to do now is I am going to go ahead and paste all that. So first thing we do is we're going to do the upgrade, just so I can upgrade whatever packages are available. Then we're going to install these packages, right? All of these up to right here are needed for DaVinci Resolve. Now you could do the regular, this is the OpenCL stuff. You could do the regular OpenCL. I had better consistency with the dev one, along with the extra command stuff we do right after this in order to get like I said, OpenCL working in this setup. Mesa tools and PCI utils are diagnostic tools, right? So you don't necessarily need those, but they're really helpful when you're trying to debug stuff. So that's what I have. Clinfo, absolutely need this, because this is what you're going to use to confirm that OpenCL is working in the container, right? And then of course pulse audio, we use this for audio or sound. VLC, we're using as an application just to confirm that the video is actually working stuff, and that we can render and whatnot on the machine. And that's that for that. After that is done, then what we're going to do is this part right here. This is going to be for OpenCL, right? So we make a directory in the place that OpenCL is expected to be at and have a file there, right? So as you see, we make a directory in etc/OpenCL/vendors, and then we are going to create this file here. This NVIDIA OpenCL 1 file, right? We're going to do that. We'll pipe that into right here. right? Or at least, I'm sorry, like we're echoing this word, right? We're echoing like this phrase or this word into this file name via T, right? So, we echo this, then, we pipe that in the sudo T, which will basically just take this echo and put it into this file here, right? That's going to be at that location that we had created. So that's what that's for, right? So let's go ahead and enter. Now, what you're going to see is that because I said this is my actual like personal container, right? All of these should actually already be installed. Yeah, see, so they're already in there, right? But that's what you would have did, and it would have already done all that. Cool. Then what you're going to do is immediately run clinfo and hit enter. And what you should see, you should see this, right? If you didn't get this, then something went wrong, and either there was a step that you didn't follow, or there was a change, since making this video, and right now that something doesn't work anymore. And if that's the case, definitely mention it in the comment section, and hopefully I see it and try to address it if that's the case. But, for all intents and purposes, you should have gotten this, and this should have produced output for every GPU that you have on your system. At that moment, just about everything is working, and now we need to do one last thing, and that is to get to Resolve together, right? So first thing we need to do is we need to actually install Resolve. Now Docker, right? For us in Docker, we have to use sudo. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do sudo /app run in order to run the installation. So here we go, right? We are installing the studio version. So right now it's asking me if I want to reinstall it because I have the regular DaVinci Resolve installed, but I don't have the studio one installed. So after I get this installation, I'm going to slice in a video of me then using Resolve that I was doing earlier that I wasn't planning on to be future me. So just FYI, right? In case it gets a little weird in this video. But let's just go ahead now. We're going to go ahead and install the good stuff there. Cool. Next, I agree. And next, show detailed. Cool, right? And then there we go, right? So now it's installing. Cool, right? So like I said, after this installs, we're going to do one more command in the terminal, and then I'm going to splice in earlier me that didn't know he was going to be used for future me's Resolve thing, because I just don't want to have to go through the activation thing, just because I'm literally let's say, because this is a container I'm like testing on to try and like get this all stuff like, the less steps you have to do, the better. So to get this like all working and stuff, so I don't want to like sit there and like burn my activations and get flagged or something. All right. So we're going to come back when this is done installing. And then after that, we'll move those files. I'll slice in previous me. And then, that'll be that. All right, it finished. So let's go ahead and close that off. All right, so now what we're going to do is now about those good old commands, right? So like I said, there's some stuff that's like broken with the Linux side of DaVinci Resolve naturally. So we have to do this, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and paste this and let's talk about it. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and navigate to where Resolve was just installed, which is /resolve into the libs folder. And in the libs folder, we are going to make another folder called disable libraries. I mean, you really can call it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. But the biggest thing is we then need to move all files that, have this part in its name, right? There's libglib and geo and gmodule, right? Gmodule, whatever. We're going to move them into this folder, the folder that we make, right? So that they're not there trying to be loaded by the application. They have to be removed. If you don't remove them, then the application never works. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So let's do that. All right, cool. So now when I sit here and I run this application should now just come up without a problem, right? At this point, everything that we are aware of is working. And as you can see, boom, it works. Now remember what I said, right? I am going to now splice in previous me running this the regular resolve thing, just so that I didn't go through this part, because like I said, because at this point everything should work exactly as you would expect it. You've already done the hardest part. We already did the hardest part. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna let old me close out this video, and hopefully I didn't botch up the editing too much. So now let's go ahead and make the switch. You should be able to then click on the DaVinci Resolve icon, and boom, right? DaVinci, studio icon, and then you'll see it loading up and working. So I'm gonna go ahead and show that, right? Because this is what we'll see, just because I don't want to have to go through and the whole activation sequence, just because I still got to do it on the LXC container. But yeah, right, you'll see the application comes up. It looks just fine. Also, as far as like the UI goes, if you go to preferences, then you go to user and then UI settings, you're going to want to change the scale here. So UI display scale 100, 150, maybe 200%, depending on like how you like it or want it or whatever. But also, like, the important thing too that I do want to point out is that obviously you see that it sees the GPUs. Like I said, the regular DaVinci only lets you use one at a time, whereas Studio lets you use multiple. So just FYI. But you'll see that you'll have your your window, and the very first thing I do is to test to make sure that it works is we create a generator. So like I said, you're certainly gonna have to come back to this part of the video, or better yet, even better, if you're already here, you're probably, what am I talking about? That's because I actually went ahead and just edited this part to be in front of after the installation, just so that way I'm using the regular Resolve, because I did not feel like doing the activation part. So right, you would have already been here, and as you can see, we're going to go ahead and we'll change this to a particular color. Like I said, I don't know why Resolve does this, where like you see it didn't change. I have to actually click one of these boxes and then I can just change it. Weird bug, sure, I guess, right? That, and then also to let me get a media file from somewhere. You know what, hell, let's just use this microphone. This is what, did I just really? Yeah, I did. Let me go back and copy it on over like so. Okay, and so like as you can see, and then I'm just going to simply, let me just shorten this up a little bit, just so that way we get the same kind of change. Right, let me go here. Oh no, don't do that. Yep, like that. Put this over here, right? And then I'm just going to change this color to green. Yeah, let me just, green. Come on, hit okay, right? All right, boom, right? So now when I sit here and I hit play,
microphone may be low warning. Microphone may be low warning.
All right, yeah, see, as you can see, it's we can hear the audio, so then that works, right? That's a big difference from the LXC containers, right? Because some extra stuff you got to do. And then of course we see the colors. So, and then boom, right? The final test then is just to simply we'll just render this somewhere. So let's go into our video folder. We'll call this test. And, the regular DaVinci Resolve, like I said, is really limited on like its output stuff. The one I believe will just naturally work is going to be QuickTime MPEG. I want to say that's about that, right? We'll go ahead and now render, and boom, right? It's done. So now if I go to my config, right? If I go here, I see it right here. And then let's see what we got.
Microphone may be low warning. Microphone may be low warning.
All right. Yeah, see, there you go. See, and there you go. It worked. All right, perfect. Like I said, this is just with the regular Resolve. Studio, nothing's changed except for just like the extra features and functionalities obviously you get with Studio. But yeah, that's it. I hope I hope this updated version was like helpful to you guys that's still using Docker. Like I said, the only other thing you just got to worry about is just if you leave your container down for too long, like somehow like DaVinci forgets it's activated, so then you're gonna have to reactivate it. I don't know. At some point I'll like try to work close with like the Blackmagic support to see if maybe we can like figure that out. I'll be honest with you, I don't have much hopes for something like this, just because this is for sure outside the realm of like what they ever probably plan on supporting when it came to their product. So like, I kind of doubt it. Or maybe, this might spawn them to actually, cater their product into like this unique thing, right? Where like, just imagine if, Resolve was the go-to for like remote renderings, where like, you had a bunch of servers all running DaVinci Resolve and they could all handle like different, remote rendering jobs. I don't know why DaVinci didn't set up I don't know why Blackmagic didn't set up their amazing like video editing product, with that in mind. But yeah, it's whatever. Anyway, I hope this was helpful, and you guys take care.